Hello and good morning, friends of Century 21. I got a special visitor here with me this morning. I'm Pat Slack, broker owner of Century 21 Midlands, and right here with me is Mr. Brian Albert, who is a past customer client of mine that went through the purchasing process, and he's here this morning to kind of tell you in his own words just how he felt about it. Is there something that happened in this transaction that just absolutely blew your mind? Anything at all?
I think as we got closer to the end, and we were negotiating a couple of small things along with the purchase price with the home relating to some insurance things. I think it was eye-opening to me that there's probably not a cut and dried home purchase, that there's always a couple little moving parts that you have to be aware of and things that can change a little bit. And in this case, it worked out really well for me because I got some extra benefits to the home before we even moved in, and still got what I thought a very fair purchase price for the home. So sometimes there can be a couple little surprises along the way that you don't quite see coming. Some of them can be challenging, some of them can be enlightening. So
when we get in those situations like that, would your strongest advice be to be flexible, to be open-minded, because contracts can be amended and addended, and to match things. So I think a lot of people get stuck in that rut that, hey, come hell or high water, this is what I want. I think the flexibility keeps these deals together, and actually at the end of the day provides a better deal by having that flexibility. Well, that's how I felt that you learned.
It's a balance, because you have somebody who's trying to buy and somebody who's trying to sell. And for me, I always thought, okay, we're going to meet somewhere in the middle. And that's, and if there's, a couple perks to kind of move the process along one way or the other, okay. Because sometimes that's just what the deal needed to kind of get across the finish line. But I always felt like the process was fair. I always felt like I was well represented, and I always understood where the sellers were coming from too. And that was something that I actually really appreciated in our communication, is that I got a chance to see both sides.
Yeah, and sometimes that's left out, isn't it? It gets left out, and I don't think a full rounded conversation in negotiations can happen. Can happen without knowing that information, or at least what we do know at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Brian, we're ending our conversation here this morning, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of say whatever you want to say here. Either you can beat me up. You can give a glory story, but from your heart, give the audience something that I provided to you that was just super outstanding, just something that really made you comfortable in this whole thing. We just want to hear your words, Brian.
Perfect. Okay. For me, when I first entered the home buying process, I had some ideas about what I wanted. And when I sat down with Pat for the first time, we had a great conversation about just fleshing out, okay, what are we looking at for price range? What are we looking at for the needs and wants that you have in a home? And throughout the entire process, I always felt like I was well supported, that I had all of my questions answered in a timely manner. The flexibility with scheduling, being a teacher, my schedule's pretty hectic during the weekdays, and so Pat's flexibility with being able to go out and view homes, and sometimes on really short notice when something would pop up on the market, and making sure we were one of the first people in the door to view the property. All of those little things gave me a lot of confidence that, first of all, I was working with the right person, that my needs were being met, that my questions were being answered. And as we moved through the process of finding homes, some that were strong possibilities and some that didn't quite work out, I always felt like that the process was going to work, that Pat was incredibly responsive the entire time. And this happened all the way through when I settled on my first home, and the purchase process, And even after I signed the documents, got my keys, moved in, Pat was incredibly supportive all the way through, making sure that I felt completely satisfied with the house that I purchased, the entire process. And so I have nothing but wonderful things to say about the whole process, because it ran so smoothly and put my mind at ease with everything else that's going on in life.
And did we not have fun doing it?
We had a
I
great
did,
time
Ryan.
doing it.
I had a blast. I always have a blast doing it, and I like to do that. I like to make it fun and,
Yep.
and also learn.
I mean, there were some houses we spent a grand total of 30 seconds in, and both of us knew pretty quick that that this wasn't going to be the one.
Right fit.
And there were some houses we made multiple visits to, just to kind of get a different feel for it multiple times. And so that throughout that whole process, it's like if I wanted to go back and do a second or a third visit at a house, Pat's like, all right, let's go. So.
Well, Brian, I appreciate your time.
Pat,
I
thank you
appreciate
so
your
much for-
business. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank
And
you for
the
everything.
glory story, I'm about ready to cry. So, anyway, thank you, Brian.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Yep.